Hello, welcome to my little demo on my recent Java program that I built. This was built for a university project at the University of York. And yeah, so let's get straight into it. So the project itself was to create a program which would allow me, or allow the user to enter a coin into a system and then have enter a number of pennies into the system, should we say, and then have coins returned. So a good way to think about it is if you've ever been to a shop with a change dispenser in there. For instance, if you go to, I've got in my local Sainsbury's, there's a little change dispenser at the front. And if you go there with a jar of pennies and you throw your pennies in, then it will spit out various pound coins, £2 coins, 20p's and stuff like that. So it gives you some, it gives you less currency to deal with in terms of change. So that's basically how this system works. So the way I've done it is I started off with a method called menu, and this is where the program really launches. This is where it all begins. So firstly, it kind of reads all this here, and then it launches itself into the main menu. And before I mention it as well, there's a main coin sorter class where these currency values are being set in here as well. The min coins are being set here, the max coins are being set here, and the list of coins in the system is being set here. So actually, before I continue, I better mention that. So in the system, as we have it currently, it's determined that the minimum number of coins that the user can enter is 0, and the maximum number of pennies they can enter is 10,000. And the coins that are available to the system to return to the user are 200, 100, 50, 20 and 10. Now bear in mind that these are in pennies, so that would be 10 lots of 1 penny coins, which is 10p, 20 lots of 1 penny coins, which is 20p, 50p, 100 or a quid, a pound, sorry, or £2. So just thought of the American users there, if there's anyone watching from overseas. I think a quid's a little bit too colloquial a way of explaining that, so pounds. And then we have the currency in the system. So we're going to get the available currencies in the system, and there are a lot of available currencies in Java actually. So that is all that's the currency class, which is built into Java. And then that's returning all the available currencies, and then it's taking the currency class and making the currency type equivalent to an instance of UK currency. Now this can be edited by the user in the program as well, and we'll discuss that later. And then the currency type itself is set to the format of string. The format string of the currency is a symbol. So for instance, it will be returned as £2. Or £1 or 50p. We'll see that in action shortly. And then here, this is where the user can set these values. So setting the currency in the system, setting the minimum coin value that can be entered, setting the maximum coin value that can be entered, returning to the main menu, that's just an integer value, the user's choice, how much, what they decide to click or press, how much change they enter into the system, the type of change they choose to evaluate, whether that be the £2, £1, 50p coins, and the value of the change that they enter into the system. So we're going to have a little look at that in a minute, but it's just important to know that this is what happens first. And then we're using a scanner for the user's input, and then we're using a buffered reader for something a bit further down the line, which we'll have a look at in a bit. So, and then we've got an empty coin sorter class as well, just so it can be launched. It's kind of required by the system. So once all that's read and evaluated, then the menu can be launched. And now we know the logic behind how the system works a bit better. It will make explaining this a little bit easier. So the first thing we have, we're greeted with, is just a simple main menu printed out to the screen. And then we are given a few options here. Option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Option 1 being the calculator itself, option 2 being the multi-coin calculator, option 3 printing the coin lists, setting the details in the system, displaying the program configurations, and quitting the program. And displaying the program configurations itself has a sub menu. So you see here we have a menu, method, and now we have a submenu method. So when you click option 4 to, should I say set details, when you click option 4 to set the details, it will launch the submenu method. Now I'm sure you're watching this thinking, why is his methods not in individual classes and, you know, separated out? And that's a good question, because I had the same question for my university, but this was the way they wanted it designed, so this is the way they got it. But if I'd built this myself, then each of these methods would be in their own classes and separated, just so it's a little bit easier to comprehend, because I mean really we've got 500 lines of code here which can be broken down a bit further, but again that was the university's preference, so I followed their requirements, as essentially they were my client, so client comes first and all that. So once we have our coin list once we have our options printed out, we now get the chance to select an option, and the way this works is that the user's choice, if we look back here, the integer that the user will enter in will be passed in here, and it will be expecting the user to supply an integer value. And then what happens is it uses that integer value to make a decision about what to do next. So for instance, if they enter the integer value of 1, then it's going to launch the coin calculator method. If they enter 2, then it will enter the coin calculator method. If they enter 3, it will print the coin list. If they press 4, they'll enter the submenu. If they press 5, it will display the program configurations. If they press 6, and this seems a little bit crazy here, but what it essentially does is, because it's very awkward to clear the terminal in a in this project for some reason. Also, it was in Eclipse what I was using it originally. If I was to want to clear the shell here, it would be quite simple, but you know, you have to use, like, you have to pull in systems and all sorts of random stuff, which I really didn't want to have to do, and it wasn't in the scope, so I didn't do it. So instead I just set a bunch of new lines, which kind of visually makes it seem like that the system is, you know, exiting from the program, when in reality all it's doing is it's completely it's clearing everything that's on the screen and then exiting the program, so the program isn't still running. It's quite an awkward little system, but it worked for its purpose, and it was mainly done as a way of being able to exit the system cleanly, because if you exit the system, the shell doesn't clear, it just remains there, so the user doesn't really get an indication that, you know, they can continue doing something new. So I just thought it'd be a nice to have feature more than anything. And then if they don't meet any of the requirements of the integer values that can be entered, then it will say to them, you didn't select an option from the main menu, try again. It will tell them to press enter, return to the main menu. It will wait for them to press enter via a read line using the buffered reader, which allows them to press enter, and it will recognize enter as the key in the system, and then once it's pressed, then it moves on to menu. Now again, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, returning to menu from menu is recursive, and that can cause some issues in the system. And again, I agree with that, and if it was my choice, I would have done it slightly differently. But again, because of the restrictions made by the university and how this program should be designed, it didn't allow me to, and I couldn't exactly argue with my university and say I don't want to build it like that, you know. They set the requirements and I had to build it as they wanted. But I did put in the documentation that I supplied to them that it could have been more efficient to you know, to do this in method-based systems, so that you're not recursively, you know, going back over the same thing. Now if I was to do it myself, I'd probably put this in a loop where I can break out of the menu system and enter back into it using a simple loop and try catches and stuff. But that's, again, it was out of the scope. I did include a try catch though, just in case they entered anything other than a numerical value. So if they entered a word, for instance, then it will obviously launch an exception, and you know, rather than going back into the menu this time, you know, I just decide to kick them off and tell them to restart the program. You know, if the user wants to mess with the system, then there has to be some consequences. So now we've discussed all of that and the logic behind the main menu, let's start looking at what we've got here. So we've got the coin calculator when you press number 1 as your option. So let's go and have a look at the coin calculator method. So let's scroll down here, and here we have coin calculator just here. Now coin calculator expects 2 values to be passed into it. It expects the value of the change that you're going to enter, and bear in mind the value of the change is in pennies, so it's expecting pence. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, you're passing in integer values, but money isn't in integer values, you can put £2.30, £2. Yes, that's true. But in this case, we are looking to put pence into the system. So we can do that in an integer value because pence don't come in half pennies anymore. So, you know, you can now enter them as a full integer value. Obviously, if the nationality of the coin that you're using changes, then the way the program is built would have to change, because there might be half penny currencies in certain countries. But for the scope of this particular project, that wasn't required, so I stuck to integers. So you can pass the amount of money that you're going to enter into the system, and then you can evaluate the type of coin, the amount of. So let's just say you enter 235 coins into the system. It will evaluate how many coins you can return, how many 100 pence coins you can return, or how many £1 coins you can get back. So before I start running the program and showing you this, I'm going to just talk about the code behind it. So the first thing that happens is it prints to the screen coin calculator, so you know that you're in the coin calculator menu. And then it puts a little note onto the system for the user just to let them know anything entered less than the minimum coin value or greater than the maximum coin value will not work. So amount entered cannot be less than the minimum coin value or greater than the maximum coin value, which was determined just here at the start of the program. So that's 0 or 10,000. 10,000. So if we pop back here again, I believe we was somewhere here. Yep, coin calculator. It lets the user know implicitly that's the case at the start. And then we have this is nested within a try catch, and again it's nested in a try catch for the exact same reason as before. They can't anything other than a whole, but it should be a whole number, just in case they think, well, why can't I enter, you know, a decimal value? So then what happens is the first thing that we evaluated is, did they enter anything less than the minimum or maximum coin value in the system? And if they did, then, you know, it will say, did you enter less than the minimum coin value, or did you enter greater than the coin value, maximum coin value? And if you did, then print out to the screen, sorry, but the amount you entered was either less than the minimum coin value or greater than the maximum coin value. Press enter to return to the main menu, waits for the buffer read line entry key to be pressed, and then returns you to the main menu where you can give this another go. So it allows the user to stay within the program, which I guess is important, you know, because users' retention in terms of interest in the program can be reduced if they are kicked out of the program continuously. So then if that's successful and they, you know, that happens, but you know, otherwise, and I recognize now I should have put this the other way around, but once I built the program I was like, oh, why have I done that? But I built it, sent it in, I'd done it all. But yeah, I think in future I would have put that in the if statement and then this in the else statement. I think I did, but it didn't work for some reason, as is the nature of code, but I don't know why. Code can sometimes be elusive. You can be sitting there till like 11 PM at night doing things and thinking, why is this not working? It could be a simple line of code, or it can be something very, very complex. It's the nature of programming, I guess. You know, if you're a programmer yourself, you'll know that's the case. So the next thing is evaluated here is if they do meet the minimum or maximum coin value, then it will ask them to enter the coin type they want to evaluate. And what happens here is it gets the coin list. So we have the 0 index array, the first index array of the coin list, the second, the third and the fourth. So if we go back here, we can see we have a list of coins here, and the 0 index of that array is equivalent to 200p's or £2. The first index is 100, second is 50, third is 20, and the fourth is 100. So it's just printing them to the screen and letting the user know that they are the coins that are available to be able to do the calculations on. And then what happens is if the user enters, it waits for the users to enter the type of coin they want to evaluate, and that's expected to be an integer value as a user input, and then it passes the type of coin that they choose into the method itself. So now we have the amount of change that they're going to have, that they have available, and the coin type that they want to get returned to them, and it's passed in just there. And again, an if statement ran, so it says if the coin type they enter into the system is equivalent to the 0 index in that coin list array, which is 200, or 100, or 50, or 20 or 10, then we can start running this. You get a total of, and then what happens here, it does a very basic mathematical equation. So it takes the change value and it divides it by 200, and then it returns the 0 index of that array, which again is 200. And the reason why it divides it by 200 is so it returns it as a £2 coin and not 200p coins. You know, so it says p coins can be exchanged, change value, and then it divides it, and then it uses a modulo operator by 200 to get that individualistic value. And then we have the same for 100, 50, 200 and 0, and it kind of cascades down like that. And then finally it takes that entire change value which has been passed down each time here, and then gives you the remainder change just here. So once it's done those operations just here, whatever's left is how much will be left in the system with your remainder. So for instance, if you have, you know, one £2 coin, two 50p coins, a 10p coin, but then like 5p left which isn't in the system, then it will tell you that there's 5p coins left, and you'll see how that works shortly. Then it'll tell you to press enter to return to the main menu, and again it waits for you to press enter and then send you back to the menu where you can do something else or you can exit the system. And if you don't enter a valid coin value in the list, then it tells you didn't, and you go back to the menu and try again. And again, if you enter anything other than numerical value, which is a whole number, then it lets you know, kicks you out of the system, and then you have to start again. But because that's implicitly stated at the start of the program how it works, if the user intentionally tries to break it, then, you know, its onus is on them, and it's going to give them less incentive to break the program the next time round, but it's not going to destroy the program if they try to either. So it's a good little trade-off. So let's have a little look and see actually how it works in the console. So here we have the coin calculator and the little note that they get. It cannot be less than 0, greater than 1,000. So let's play around with the system. Let's enter 1 million coins. Well, I think it's 10 million coins now. There we go. Let's have a look. Sorry, the amount you enter was less than 0 or greater than 10,000. So enter back into the coin menu. Okay, great. Sorry about that. Let's try again. Okay, well, okay, I've done that. So let's enter that then. Nope, sorry. You need to enter a numerical value. Wrong. So now you need to rerun the program. Now, obviously, that could be done a little bit better. And I do realise that, but again, it wasn't in the scope of the project, and it really was something that I added in as an extra feature just to get a little bit of extra accreditation, and I got 95% out of 100 in the end for this program, so you know, I'm quite pleased with that. So if we run it again, and now we actually follow the boundaries of the program, we will see how it actually works. So let's just say we enter 234 coins, you know, into our system. So we have 234 penny coins, for instance, or maybe a few 5p coins in there as well, for whatever reason. And that will say to us, okay, we're into the type of coin that you want to evaluate. So let's see how many £2 we can get back from that. So if this works, we should be able to get one £2 coin, one 20p coin, one 10p coin, and 4 penny coins. So we have one 200p coin, can be exchanged with a remainder of 34p. So because you're just evaluating the 200 there, I believe that's the multi-coin calculator. It's quite hard to say that you can evaluate with the, yes it is, yeah, with this you just evaluate the single 200p coin, but with the multi-coin calculator you can evaluate all the coins you get back in the system, and that's the difference between the two. So let's have a little look. So we're going to go to the multi-coin calculator now and have a little look. So again, very, very similar, just lets them know they're in the multi-coin calculator, lets them know about the boundaries of the system, asks them to enter a coin value, which is passed in just here, and then reruns the same system where it evaluates whether it's greater than, you know, if they've entered something less or more than what's in the system, and if they pass, then it evaluates the coin type that they want to exclude from the system. So again, let's do 234 coins that we enter into the system, and what do we want to exclude? Well, this time we don't want any 200p, we don't want any £2 coins, we need £1 for our trolley. So let's do that. Let's ignore the £200, let's ignore the £2. So from that we can get no £2 coins because we don't have £2 in our system anymore, because that's been ignored. but we can get two £1 coins, which is now, we now have our change for our trolley. We can get one 20p coin with a remainder of 4 pence and a 10p coin as well, as I discussed earlier. So this now allows you to see exactly how many coins you can get back, and excludes a certain coin from the list as well, which again was a part of the client requirements. Press to return to the main menu. So that's exactly how the coin calculator works. And now if we go down a little bit further and we look at the, let's go to print coin list just here, and let's just see where that reference appears. There we go. So print coin list. So it takes the, if we enter into the system, let's have a little look. Denominations currently in circulation. So it takes the list of coins in the system and it prints, admittedly that should just probably be a little dash there, like that. If I save that and I try to return to the main menu, I'm curious to see if that will, no, I probably will have to rerun the program if I do that. Let's just quickly try that. As is the life of coders. Right, run Java. Run it from the test coin sorter class, and then we try to look at our coin list, and there we go. That looks a bit better. I think I tried to enter bullet points originally, but it recognized it in Eclipse, but it doesn't recognize it in Visual Studio, which is what I prefer to do my programming in, if I can help it. So currently in the system, it just lets the users know what's in the system that's available to use. These are the denominations that are currently in circulation, and again that was specified by, they wanted that at the university, and again it was trying to mimic the client developer relationship. You know, this is what the client wants, this is what development gives. But I think in reality, you know, there's a bit more kind of room for negotiation when it comes to a client developer conversation, but when it comes to a student university lecturer conversation, there's less room for scope enhancement. It's just like, you do this and go and get your grade. So, but it mimics it, I guess. It's there, the idea is there. And this is, now if we press 4, if we go back here, if we press 4, what's going to happen now is we're going to set the details in our program, and this will allow us to enter the submenu. So let's do that, and let's have a little look at the submenu. So the submenu here will start off by letting us know that we are in the submenu of set details. And what we can do here is we can set the currency value in the system, we can set the minimum coin input value, the maximum coin input value, and then we can return to the main menu. And again, it works in very much the same way as before, where it waits for the users to enter their choice between 1 to 4, and if they enter anything non-numerical, then it waits for a try catch where, you know, that happens. And if they enter anything into the system that doesn't, you know, it's just better. This is very much the same system. I'm not going to bore you with the exact same context as before, but you kind of know how it works. It's waiting for non-numerical characters through a try catch, and if they don't enter the values specified here, then it lets them know they haven't done it and lets them return to the main menu. So with that in mind, let's have a little look at this. So if they press 1 to set the currency, it will launch the set currency method, which we can see here. Now this is where things get very, very complex. Now this wasn't in the project scope, but I wanted those extra grades, and I wanted to prove that I could code in a bit more of a complex manner. So I decided to go down a bit of a different route to what most people were going down. So what I decided to do, and there's the infamous question mark, I kind of like it now I look at it, I'm going to keep it there. You know, so the first thing that happens is it takes the currencies that are available, and it runs a for loop and says return the currency set. Yeah, if we can see it here, the currency set, the available currencies in our list of currencies in our system. Let me just come down to there to find where that's gone. Coin calculator, another coin calculator, set currency, there we go. And this is why I prefer to code in OOP myself, because it just avoids having to do this all the time. But again, the client specified they didn't want OOP, so for whatever reason I don't understand, but some people don't like OOP, and it is what it is, but I love it. So it takes waits for the currency set, takes the currencies available in the system, and it says okay, let's have a look at the currencies that are available in the system and get the currency code for that country. And then it creates a new line, and then it displays the currency. So essentially all it does, let's just have a look, easier to show you. So that again should be a what do you call it, a bullet point, but it doesn't recognize bullet points in this for some reason. So what happens, it gives you the currency code, so you know what the currency code in the system is. So for instance, if you wanted to change the code in the system to the Ruben florin, for instance, the code for the system would be AWG. That'd be the currency code. I believe it's probably GBP for Great British Pounds. You've got euros. I'm not entirely sure. It's probably in there somewhere, but yeah. But it does show you the. It shows you what the currency is itself. So it tells you the current system currency. Just where is that current system currency? Just here. So it tells you what the current system currency is. It gets the currency in the system and displays its name just here, and then it displays the symbol in brackets just here, and then it asks you to enter a new currency code in order to be able to change the currency in the system. So set new system currency, what will happen is it will wait for you to enter the display name. Sorry, no, it won't. Sorry, there we go, set new system currency code. I was reading the other one there. So it waits for the user's input, and this, instead of waiting for an integer, it's now waiting for a string. So instead of it being a user input int, it's now an user input next. And then what happens here is we have something, just a little bit of a workaround for users that want to, you know, try and toy with the system slightly. And you know, you can see here that the currency codes are in uppercase, but if the user decides to enter lowercase, what will happen here is it will take the currencies instance from these list of currency codes here and convert whatever they enter into an uppercase value. And then once they've entered the currency type, so let's just say they've looked at the South African rand and said, oh yeah, I quite like the South African rand, so let's do that. So they enter ZAR in lowercase. It enters it and says, right, okay, well, your new system currency is now South African rand, ZAR, you know. So I'm just trying to see if there's anything. I'm just trying to see if the Great British Pound's there anywhere. It probably is. You're probably looking at here thinking, what's he doing? I've just seen him go past it. Zimbabwean dollar. As there is so many currencies in the system, it's actually quite. Let's go for lira, ITL. I actually don't know what the lira is. I've entered it into the rand. So let's go back and set the currency to LIR. Oh, okay, that was my mistake. I think I entered the wrong currency type. So let's just rerun the program quickly. Mistakes are made. You know, I'm only human, I guess, you know. So let's try this again. So let's set the details, set the currency, and I thought it was ITL personally for Italian lira, but shillings, wow, Somali shilling. You learn a lot in this program as well. Lithuanian litas, that's interesting. Let's change it to let's change it to the Irish pound. So IEP, Irish pound. So IEP, we'll do it in uppercase this time. So now the new system currency is Irish pound. It doesn't have a system. For some reason it doesn't have a symbol, but there we go. So that's how the currency system works, just there. So once you enter in the new currency, it will convert it into uppercase, and then it will display, and that's why I got confused a moment ago, because that should have a little space just there, I reckon. So it displays the name here of the current currency, which in the case would have been British pound. You enter your new currency, and then it displays the new system currency just there. And then it allows you to return to the sub menu by pressing enter by using the buffer reader, and we can run the process again, like we have here. So if we now go back to our submenu, and that was the biggest part of the submenu, once that's done, then it gets quite simple from here. So if the user enters 2, now what we can do is we print out into the system, enter a new minimum coin input value. And then we set the minimum coin value to whatever the user enters as an integer. And if they set it to greater than 0, then that's fine, but if they don't, then they can't enter a negative value as the coin, because you can't enter -0 coins into a system. So it's, again, wasn't required, but it seemed logical to do that, so I did that. And once they've entered it, then it changes that in the submenu, and it's the exact same for maximum as well. It uses the exact same logic, but this time it just changes the maximum coin value. And again, it's just looking for whether the user's entering non-numerical characters. If they press 4 to return to the main menu, then indeed it launches the menu option. And if they enter anything that's not in the submenu, that happen. And if they try to start pressing enter for no reason, then it will start trying to catch that and throw them back into the main menu. So a lot's been covered in terms of stopping the user from trying to break the system. So if we set the maximum coin value for instance in the system now to it was 10,000 before, so let's say 15,000 instead, and we can return to the submenu, and we can now actually, before we do that, let's set the minimum coin value in the system to be I don't know, 10. They can only enter 10p into the system now. Let's return to the main menu, and before we do anything, let's display the program configurations. So we can now see that what happens here basically when we display the program configurations is it launches the display program configs method. So if we go to wherever that may be, there we go, display program configs, it prints out into the system current system currency information, and this just lets the user know that functionality added to display currency in traditional decimal format in the system menu. So I mentioned earlier that we can't enter in a non-whole number, but in many countries, decimal format is the preferred value. So you'd have 15. You might have, if the user enters, right, we can now use 15,000, and 20, 15,000 pounds and 20p or something. When the program's edited in the future for the user to be able to enter decimal values into the system when they're doing their coin calculators, it's just a potential for future scope just there. So it's just added as a little extra format, and what it does here is it just formats the system using floats basically. So it converts it into floats into 2 decimal places. So that there is just basically a conversion. It recognizes that symbol as a format, and then it's asking it to format it into 2 decimal places using a float. And then it converts the coin values into doubles from there, and then it asks you to return to the main menu, and if you try to do something dodgy, then it just kicks you out and sends you back into the main menu. And yeah, so we can see earlier we entered the new system currency information was pound. The minimum coin value was 0, now it's 10p. And then it was 10,000, that was 15,000. So if we go back into the main menu and go into our coin calculator, we can see that the amount it can't be less than 10 or greater than 1,500. And if we enter 1, the amount you enter was either less than 10 or greater than 1,500. And if we go back to our coin calculator and enter 15,000, shall I say, or 1,500 depending if you're in this, 20,000. Nope, can't do that. But if we go back and now we stick to what they're asking and say, okay, we're into 10p, then how many 10p's can we get from 10p? You can get 1 10p coin. Right, brilliant. So that's it, that's the program in a nutshell. Now, as one final thing, so it quits the program, and as you see here, it just puts a bunch of line breaks, and then you can rerun it just like that, and give it a few seconds, and it just looks like that the program's restarted as normal, but in reality some of it's back up here again, but it just looks a little bit neater. Just something I wanted to do really. So as one final thing, another requirement I had from the university was to create a GUI version of my system. So if we go here, we can see that I have a coin sorter GUI or GUI Java class. I'm going to quickly save that so it stores it in my system. And this uses JavaFX. Now JavaFX is basically a graphical version of Java, and you can see how that works in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it and we can talk about what's happening in the background there as we're going along. So let's run this, the GUI class, and give it a second, and here we go. So it opens a new menu here where we can basically use the coin calculator, print the coin list, set details, enter the display the sub menu as before, and we can return to the main menu. Now I will mention that the scope of this project defined that this didn't need to work. So long as the console application worked, this didn't need to work. You didn't need to have a full GUI menu because we was only given 2 weeks to do this. So was it a week? No, so it was given a week to do this. So to build both a full GUI and a full console application in a week just would have been been impossible, because you got to bear in mind that this course that I'm taking is also for people that are working. So you're trying to balance this with work at the same time. So, but what I did do as an extra feature was when you press it, it does enter the particular thing that you want to do, but it does bug it out a little bit when you try and do that. So I did put that in my notes to the university. I said I can prove that it works if you press a button, but once you try and press too many buttons, then it gets a bit funny. So it's just demonstrating that it works if you try and press something. But it won't launch it into the GUI menu, but it will launch it into the console menu, which doesn't really work very well together. But it was just more of a proof of concept, I guess. So now we've got that all out of the way. The first thing that happens is it creates a button here, and what happens is it's a coin calculator button here. I've given it the name of coin calculator button here as a new button, and that coin calculator, the first thing I do is set the text to coin calculator just there, and then I set the style using FS background color to black, and the fill color to white. So we can see here the initial color is white and the initial color the initial text color is white and the initial background color is black. And then it waits for an action event, and this is where we can launch the console application if they press the button. So if they press this button, it launches an action event where it launches the coin sorter program, and then it launches the coin calculator program within that, and then it waits for the change entry and the type to be entered into the system. So proof of concept more than anything. It doesn't actually work very well because it will break the system once you try to start clicking more than one thing, but it's more of a proof of concept. And then that's the action event, and then the event handler we have here is a mouse event. So once the mouse is entered onto the system, this will happen. It will set a text effect of shadow, and you can see here there's a slight shadow just behind that button there, so it sets a shadow behind the text, and then what it does, it basically reverses the coin calculator text. So it makes the text bolder, because currently it's not bold. It makes the text bold. It changes the background color of the text to white, and it flips the fill color of the text to black, just like that. So it essentially just reverses it and then gives it a little background shadow, and it does that for all the buttons. So we don't need to kind of go through that too much. It just, and this is based on well, actually, before we do that, this is based on a scene. So what you're currently seeing here is a scene. This is classed as a scene. And this is the first scene that you see, where you can, where is it? Hbox. Trying to find it now. Here we go. Where we can. Oh no, sorry, it was that was the right one. Our first scene is a layout, which is the coin calculator button, the multi coin calculator button, the print coin list button, display program configs, and the quick program button. And if we go into our display program configurations button, the event handler is slightly different. to the other event handlers. So the other event handlers will launch the console application, but if you try and press the coin calculator, multi-coin calculator, print list, set details. If you try and press the set details, sorry, not set details. Is it set details? Yeah, set details. The event handler, where is it? Here we go. Pardon me. Sorry. If you press the display program configurations button, the action event will change slightly. So the action event now will launch the new scene called Scene 2, and the title just up here will change. So currently the title is Coin Sorter Main Menu, which is defined in our initial section. I'm just trying to find it. In our H box, I believe I think it's defined there somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure where I defined it. There we go. Coin Sorter Main Menu. So we can, that's the scene. And that's the title of the scene. So the scene is here, and that's the layout. So it's 750 by 150, 750 width by 150 height, and then it's waiting for layout 1 to be part of that. And layout 1 is a button spacing of 10, the position of the buttons being centralized, and then the children of the of this program being the calculator button. As such here, and that's the layout 1, and that's scene 1. However, once you click the other button, the display program configurations button, you'll see here we've got a new menu called set details submenu just here. So we have position center, set currency button, set coin value button, set maximum coin value button, and return to mayout menu button, and it's 600 by 150. So it slightly changes the screen size because there are less buttons basically, so it can be a bit smaller. And you can see here the actual text, the hovering is slightly different. So now we've got a light grey with a white instead of white and black, so it just kind of changes it up a little bit, lets the user know that they are indeed in a different menu. Now some people may argue that, you know, it should be consistent between each page, but my argument to that is when you're in a sub menu, you need to kind of feel like you're in a sub menu. You need to feel like you're somewhere different, otherwise you're just gonna feel like you're just navigating through an entire same system. That was my logic at the time anyway. So if we go back up here, now we know that it launches a new scene here. We can have a little look at the set details button here. So what happens is it launches the new scene, sets the title called submenu here, set details submenu, and then rather than the text being black and white, the text is instead, if we have a little look, display program configurations button on event, there we go, grey and white instead. So it changes the button color when you set the minimum coin value. Here currency is grey, but once it's hovered over, it changes it to black and white and makes it bold as it does in the other menu. So that is the graphical element of this program as well. So surprisingly enough, quite a long video because it's quite a lot of code, quite a lot of logic, and quite a lot going on, but hopefully it gives you an idea of how this works, and it gives you an idea of the structure of the program, and might even give you a bit of inspiration for yourself if you're looking to build something with similar logic. And in the video, the GitHub link will also be included if you want to have a little dig into the code yourself as well. So as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and I hope you have a great day, and I shall be back with my next video very soon.